Happy New Year, and thank you so much for joining us today. We want to wish you a happy 2024, and we hope that your new year is off to a phenomenal start. This is the first show of the year of 2024, and we have some amazing guests today. And we also have actually Gary, who's going to be giving a segment as well today. He's with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in and subscribing to the show. We're on every Friday, and we'd love to hear your comments. And if you have questions that you'd like to ask our guests, we welcome that. I, again, am your host, Shelley Harrison, and I'm also co-director for the Inland Empire and Orange County chapters of the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And, we just want to thank all of our heroes out there for just doing everything that you do for our veterans and our military community. Today, we have behind the scenes, we have Tammy, who's our producer. We have our executive director, who is Joseph Molina, and then my co-host, who you'll see when I'm not on the show, Dolly Rivera. So I want to give a shout out to Dolly, and Happy New Year, Dolly, out there. Again, we want to welcome our audience, and we are streaming live on multiple platforms today. So do be sure to watch the whole show and stay tuned with us. And if you have questions, like I mentioned, please put them in the chat, and we'll certainly try to get those answered for you. I would like to welcome my first guest, and the gentleman that we have on today, I met him through a colleague, and I'm very excited because Nick is actually someone who is doing some extraordinary work, and you'll hear some of the things that he's done. And he's also on a couple of foundations helping our veterans, and he's a veteran himself. He's a U.S. Army veteran, and he was actually in the U.S. Army for 13 years. So with Nick, he is head of military and talent programs, GI Jobs 2023 Veteran Champion of the Year in Corporate America. He is a LinkedIn top voice, and he is the CEO at Changing Cadence, as well as he has had congressional recognition. He's a military influencer and so many other things, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But as head of the military recruiting at Leaf Home, Nick leads and manages corporate military projects and functions with a focus on talent acquisition, employee engagement, and partnership building. And he's doing a great job with that, by the way. With over 11 years of experience in military recruiting and leadership, Nick has developed and implemented effective strategies and programs that attract, retain, and support veterans and military spouses across 6 companies nationwide. So, Nick, I would love to introduce Nick Bussey. And Nick, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, Shelley. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so excited to have you here because I know, we have had a couple of Zoom meetings. You were introduced to me by a colleague, which, it just opened up a wonderful amount of opportunities. You've made some introductions for us here at the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and we're so grateful for you. And I want to also thank you for your military background and just the sacrifices that you've made. And I know we're going to talk about one of the stories that we shared with us. So, again, we want to salute you for your service, 13 years in the U.S. Army. And, I'd like to start, if we can, Nick, with just, having you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a military experience that you had that really had a profound impact on your life.
Yeah. So I was born and raised here in California. I'm here still currently in California, but I just remember seeing the towers fall in high school. Growing up in a family full of girls. 6 sisters and myself, And, I always felt like there was a sense of purpose, and,
Yeah.
I just didn't know what that was. So growing up, really, I just was very adventurous and always looking for something different. And I remember watching those Twin Towers fall. And
Oh,
that's when I found out a lot more about who I am and what my character is, and, what purpose that life had for me.
yeah.
So, you could say that, of course, I've served for 13 years. Thank you for letting everyone know that. But as a person, I'm a dad. I'm a husband, a philanthropist, a friend. But, I'm also someone who is always trying to engage with every individual to lift them up off the ground when it's most needed. So,
Oh.
really, honestly, it's all about selfless service, and continuing serving is just the kind of person that I am.
Yeah, and every time I get an email from you, I have this big smile because I know it's always going to be positive. It's going to be something that's inspiring, and I really appreciate that because it's not easy sometimes, when you have so many different projects and things that you're working on, but you still find the time to be kind and, really help and advocate for our veterans. So we appreciate that most definitely. I would like to find out, and I'm sure our audience would too, share with our audience, Nick, you have your foundation and the Changing Cadence Foundation. If we can start with, just how this came to be and what is this organization all about?
Well, that really is a good segue for the important story that was life changing. Coming back from my second tour, I felt so alone in the military. Didn't have much going on for me there as far as a support group. I didn't have much when I came home. I remember the day that I came home that every individual had a parent to hug, or a family member, or a girlfriend, or whatnot.
Mm,
And I was standing there by myself, and for some reason, it hit me that, who am I? What's going on in my life?
yeah.
And I really enjoyed being in the service, and having that sense of purpose. But when I had that sense of purpose from the beginning, I felt like it was all lost. I felt like I fulfilled that
Mm,
purpose, and I was now back to ground zero as an empty shell. And one day I was going on a 2 mile run at 10 o'clock at night, and I just, for some reason, and I usually don't tell everybody this, but this is a good time to tell it. I started crying for the first time.
mm,
And I let my emotions get a hold of me, and I dropped to my knees halfway through my run, and just, pray to God, there's got to be something out there for me.
yeah.
And to be honest, there's only one glimmer of light that was coming out from over a hill. And it was
Mm,
close enough to where I realized it was an illuminated sign right next to this church. And it said, "You'll
yeah.
never know how strong you are until being strong is all you got." Um,
Oh.
and from that moment, I lifted myself up off the ground, and I continued that run. And I said, "I know what it is. It's to
Mm,
serve others. If I don't feel like I'm going to have a foundation right now at the moment, I'm going to be that foundation for others. And maybe that's going to be my ultimate resolution to what's going on."
yeah.
So that's kind of how we started Changing Cadence. I realized that we need a platform to communicate with the community, get people
Mhm.
involved, and bring back not just patriotism, but the relationship that needs to be fostered between our soldiers, our veterans, and the community. So Changing Cadence was started,
Yeah.
and we started with one walk to try and get people to just to recognize our veterans on Memorial Day who passed,
Yeah.
but no one came but the news.
Mm.
And so we decided to try and reach out to a larger audience, and Good Day Sacramento hosted me on their show. And we had over
Oh,
50 people on Veterans Day march down Blue Oaks Boulevard in Roseville, California.
oh,
All
yeah,
for
I've been there. Yeah.
And
Wow.
so since then, we've had been raising funds to support our veterans and come up with community engagement events that will support our service members and their families.
Oh, well, I really want to applaud you, Nick, because there are so many men and women who come back from, after serving and experience, the what you kind of had gone through. And, the when you drop to your knees, I can actually visually see that. And just knowing that you were able to really come back from that and look at what you're doing now. You've just created this amazing, network of veterans and helping and serving. And it just goes to show that the power of your mind, and it all it took was that one sign that really was that light that gave you that encouragement, right?
Yes, yes, it really
Yeah.
was. And the first time I was able to help somebody and see how much of that was an effect on their life, positive light, It, it
Mhm.
it was just, I felt like that was something that was much more needed. So instead of extending your hand out to point at somebody when they're down, you should be extending it out to pick them back up. And I think
Yeah.
that's something we need to start doing in America, especially when in 2013 we're at an 85% patriotic rate in the country. Fast forward today, we're about I think 18 to 35 year olds. It's about 18%
Mhm.
that say they're proud to be an American, and I'm hoping to change that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that you will. Definitely. Yeah. And, as far as, your story, are there any particular stories? I know we heard a little bit about, the circumstances, with the towers and, what you had gone through earlier in your kind of your lifetime. But what is one of the stories that, that you'd really like people to know about that happened in the military that really kind of can help other people?
Yeah, I will say that there's a lot of individuals in the service that have experienced mental health, and
Mhm.
even though they say it's only 1% higher in the veteran community than it is in non-veterans, these are the ones who are getting PTSD from service. Now imagine how many are getting it after post-service, or even and adding to that.
Yeah.
And then, which leads me to the story that I was in a unit called the 17 FA Field Artillery. We were the first infantry division in Fort Riley, and that was my first tour in Iraq. And I would say it's the best unit I've ever served with. Best
Mm.
group of guys ever. Um, and when the time was over for Iraq, it wasn't too long when we got back. We were told we were going back this time, but to Afghanistan. But I had orders
Mm.
to go to Fort Hood, which is now Fort Cavazos.
Yeah.
I learned shortly at my time at Fort Cavazos, back then formerly known as Fort Hood, that my unit, many of them did not come back,
Mm.
and a lot of people I know are no longer with us
Mm.
due to battle, the remnants of battle, and
Yeah.
once most of the other people who survived who got out have committed suicide, and we just lost another one
Oh,
um, right just before Halloween. Yeah, so
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah.
yeah, you know what, and
It's
again, that
unfortunate,
was
and it's not. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was I woke up crying that day, and
No.
just memories fly through. But I know it started another organization too called Rollout PTSD, and
Mm.
they're now creating retreats for veterans who are
That's
suffering.
awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely wanna keep those people in our hearts and our minds that that perished in that incident, and all of the things that have happened in the military where we lose our service people. So yeah, well, we definitely want to pick it up a little bit, and on the brighter side of of your extraordinary work, you just received recently an award for being the veteran champion of the year in corporate America. So let's talk about that, because I know I saw a post on LinkedIn.
Mhm. Yes, so it's a 27 individuals in the country get this per year.
Yeah.
And I was actually pretty surprised. I wasn't expecting this at all. So it's really nice to see that someone was thinking about me at the time. But this is
Yeah.
really to showcase individuals that are breaking the glass ceiling in the veteran space when it comes to corporate America. And since 2020, Leaf Home has never had a veteran program, and so they hired me to bring that culture inside the company. And since then, we
Yeah.
have delivered multiple programs to bring in the door into the corporate sector our veterans and their military spouses through Skill Bridge, Hangar Heroes. And we started a military philanthropy. Every quarter, we do something for our veterans. And
That is
that's when
phenomenal.
eventually I found out I was being nominated for this award
Yeah.
in 2023. And then next thing you know, I'm on their website, and it was awarded, and it's an
Yeah.
honor. And I hope
Well
others.
deserved too.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. And that kind of brings me to another foundation that you're very proud to be a part of, and it is Victory Bridge. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know we had Katie on last year,
Yes.
I think, gosh, August or September, somewhere around there. And she was just launching the organization. But give us an update, and let us know you've got an event that's going to be this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Katie's amazing, by the way. She has biggest heart for our veteran community and our first responders as well. And so she started Victory Bridge Foundation, which you can find at victorybridge.org. And
Yeah, I think we put that
VBF
up
serves
there.
veterans, first responders, and their families by raising awareness and resources for suicide prevention and mental health. And we decided to
Mhm.
combine Changing Cadence and the Victory Bridge Foundation to come together and to create this amazing award show to showcase all these different organizations like Leave Home and other nonprofits and NGOs that are actually doing something for our veteran community. And so it's called the Golden Victor Awards. I don't want to spoil too much right now, but it's a wonderful show. We have an
Yeah.
amazing host. You may know of Ian Bowen
Yeah.
from Teen Wolf
Actor.
and Yellowstone.
Hmm.
And we will be, again, like I like to use this word, but this phrase, we're going to break that glass ceiling. We're going to bring awareness to everybody in Las Vegas
Yeah.
and
Oh.
everybody around the country. And it's going to be a blast. It's a lavish, wonderful show. It's in
Yeah.
September this year, and we will be back with some more details. But you can go ahead and poke around at changingcadence.com or victorybridge.org and stay tuned for some more updates and information about that.
Yeah, I saw that on your LinkedIn too. So I thought we'd mention that because I know it's a great opportunity, and the recognition and just the idea of bringing, so many wonderful people together, and of all places, Las Vegas.
Right. Yeah, of all
Yeah.
places. Yeah, watch out.
Yeah. So, we just have a minute or so left, Nick, before we go to another segment. But I would love for you to kind of share what's next for you and, for your organization and maybe share a little bit about Leaf Home, because I know we didn't talk about that, but I know that you're very, connected and that's something that you're very passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Leaf Home is a great company. It's a direct to consumer provider of innovative branded home solutions, delivering a superior end-to-end experience to homeowners. And you may know us by one of our largest companies is Leaf Filter. It's a great company that offers great services for homeowners. And really, what's next for me is actually what's next for anyone else I can get my hands on. Um, Roseville, California just became a Purple Heart City. Um,
Oh,
and it's awesome to see that. And so what's next for me is I'm going to try and bring the good news of what cities like Roseville is doing to other cities and let them
oh,
know how important it is. But also, I plan on writing two books. I am halfway through one. It's a personal
congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow,
It's a
that's great.
personal memoir to help people who are transitioning out of the service and to realize that they
Yeah.
are enough and they're capable of anything. And the other one, I'm going to be telling stories about veterans who have suffered through so
Oh,
much, and hoping that we can resonate with that others can resonate with the stories and that it'll serve as a sense of therapy. So,
yeah.
really hoping to create a new foundation for others to look to.
Oh, well, I congratulations. I mean, that's extraordinary that you've got all the time to do all these things and have a family. So you're
Yeah.
you're just plugging away and congratulations on all of your achievements, Nick. And I know that, we'll continue to carry on and, collaborate. And I'm excited because you're, definitely part of the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce and in our community. And thank you so much for being here today. And, we want to make sure that you have a great weekend. And yeah, and we'll have you back to talk about the gala that's going to be in Las Vegas in September once the details wrap up.
That's right. I really appreciate
Yeah.
everything you do, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, Nick. Well, have a great weekend. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. You're here with the National Veterans Radio Network. My name is Shelley Harrison. I'm your host. And we have a very special segment. And Gary Roman is actually, so he's normally training, but right now he's on a little bit of a break and they go back, I think, next week or the week after. However, he's here with his segment to talk about information that helps with our veterans, and he's going to share some stories and reflecting back on 2023. So I want to welcome Gary, and there he is. Hi, Gary. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing great. Good to be here. Happy New
Oh,
Year
well,
2024.
yes, happy New Year, Gary. And I know you were busy training, all year last year. And maybe you can give us kind of an update as to, just your reflection on 2023.
Well, yes, I can. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, this time of the year, a lot of us are reevaluating what we did in 2023, so we can establish our goals in 2024.
Yeah.
And so, I've been doing the military transition workshops for 7 years. This past year, I did 75 workshops impacting a little over 1,200 veterans, men and women.
Yeah.
And
That is
so,
fantastic.
I've been asking myself this question as I review 2023: how can I get better at what I do?
Mm.
And I really enjoyed your Nick. I had some great insights that really kind of, things that I'm seeing as a facilitator and instructor.
Yeah.
So as I reflected and looked at the things we did in 2023, I see three common themes that really, have that impact a veteran's success as they transition out.
Yeah.
The first one is they got to think like an employer. They got to do their research. They got to understand what employers are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is they got to know where to go to get the information. Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of information out there, just like Nick was mentioning his foundations. We've had other guests talk about the things and resources available to veterans. And so we tried our best, or I try my best, to consolidate that information where it's readily available and they don't have to struggle where to go to find the information.
Yeah.
But the third one is probably the most important. And I would start out with this quote: "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." Now, why do I use that as a quote? Because I think, for veterans, many times they got into the military very young and without any background or any other career per se. And now, as they get out, they're trying to find their purpose. There's no higher purpose than what they've been doing the last 4 years or more. And that's their challenge. And so one of the things that I've been seeing evidence of is the veteran needs to give themselves time to know their value, to know themselves. Just Nick was referring to that.
Yeah.
And so life is going at a very rapid pace. The military has controlled that environment, rightly so, because we want to have a good military force. And so life has come at them very fast. And so they need to step back, find themselves, reflect on what they've achieved, and spend some time reflecting on their future purpose. And so I see that in resumes. I see that as we help them talk about their professional introduction.
Yeah.
In a resume, if you don't know where you're going, and if you don't know your purpose, the resume is not going to be that good. And so one of the things I'm going to be using this next year is information that I was able to obtain from a book called Brand Before Your Resume. I don't have it here before.
I thought we were going to see it.
The
Brand Before Your Resume. Is that the name of the book? Okay.
And the author, last name Sato, S-A-T-O, she was in the Air Force. But she talks about understanding you got to brand yourself. And the brand, B-R-A-N-D, stands for these things. Become relevant, authentic, noticeable, and differentiate yourself. So that's the key here. You got to, because you have to brand yourself. You have to tell the world who you are and what you have to offer. And that's the trouble that I think a lot of veterans have. They feel like they don't have skills. They've only learned how to be in combat or do the things related to a mission that involves military weapons and so forth.
Yeah.
They have much more skills. And so I think that's the thing I would like to leave is the focal point is for veterans out there that maybe are, I don't know, struggling about their future or where they want to go, what they want to become.
Yeah.
Step back, step back and look at your past and use some of the tools to help understand your strengths. And then develop a plan. Now, I know that's easy to say in 10 minutes or so, but there's so much to reflecting on your past, understand your skills that you've been able to develop, and then tell the world who you are and how you can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. And I really like that acronym because when I started thinking brand, you think of a company, right? When you think of a company brand, but really the acronym defines it clearly. And, the work that you do, Gary, I just really applaud you because, both you and Nick, I mean, you're both out there just really helping our veterans. And for the workshops that you do, where can you give a little information about how our veterans can find your workshops and what they need to do to be able to
Well,
follow
the
you.
website is very easily, it's GaryRoman.com.
Mhm.
And you see my name on the screen here, Gary Roman. You see the spelling of my last name, ROHMANN. And go to my website, GaryRoman.com.
Yeah.
And there are ways to get on my calendar and we can talk about events and needs and
Yeah.
we get something scheduled.
Oh, that would be ideal for our veterans to know about your resources and my goodness, over 1,000 students over the year. That's a lot of lives that you're impacting and really reassuring and giving hope to these, veterans who, like Nick's story where he just fell to his knees and, thank goodness he was able to pick himself up and really make a difference in the world. And he is right now. And there's so many other veterans, that need the support, that want the support. And, what you're doing is just extraordinary work, Gary.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I did not serve. I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force 23 years.
Oh,
Those are the best years of my life. That's my connection, you might say,
yeah.
to the military. But, now, I didn't wear the uniform, but now I wear a different type of uniform. It's my
Right.
opportunity to serve in a different capacity.
Right.
Well,
And that is, to be commended.
And
Absolutely.
I think our veterans, based upon their service and their sacrifice, deserves everything we can give them to help them be successful. And I'm
Yeah.
proud to do it.
Oh, well, we thank you. And I know we have about a minute left, Gary. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to share? Something that you can share with our veterans going into 2024? What would you recommend for them, for our veterans?
I think, I'm also a veteran specialist for the VA. As a coach, and I coach a lot of veterans
Mm,
that have completed their education or some form of education, but have some form of disability.
mm,
That doesn't prevent them from doing a good job or doing
mhm.
good work, but they have a disability that has some form of impact.
Yeah.
But again, they can do the job very successfully. And so I would just say this: don't underestimate your value, and and be willing to ask for help. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
don't let pride get in the way. I mean, you've been strong all your career for others, for our
Mhm.
country. So, let us help you find your future.
Oh,
Um, and, quite frankly, 40 million people lost their jobs during the pandemic. Believe it.
that's a lot.
And a lot of the people are just now getting back in the workplace. So we all experience the highs and lows related
Yeah.
to an experience. But there are resources out there, and don't be afraid of for asking for help.
Yeah, and those are powerful words. So, just asking for help, it's not weak. It's something that it just helps you get to that next level,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, Gary, it's been a pleasure having you on our segment. I know that you come on frequently on the National Veterans Radio Show, and we thank you for your contributions and for being, spearheading this segment. And we wish you a happy weekend. And I know we want to thank our audience for being here, and we definitely want our listeners and followers to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see all of our shows. And we want to wish everyone a happy new year from the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce and the radio show, and have a great weekend. Take care.